ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dissect or Dissect. On this show, we endeavor to the best of our ability to analyze, evaluate, and examine people's use of terms and judge them by their standards. For our viewers, listeners, and detached spectators to conclude. The topic I'm going to talk about today is a brief discussion about Mr. Mustafa Kedabo, the peaceful protesters, and the dimwit Momodou Sabally. I shall begin my opening observation by expressing my cordial greetings and adulation to the brilliant Mr. Mustafa Kedabo and his team for their endeavors in exposing the unscrupulous sisters and shenanigans of our society. The damning report by the wonderful Mr. Mustafa Kedabo is by far one of the best pieces of journalism ever conducted in the Gambia. The Gambian government spokesperson and Minister of Information, Dr. Ismail Cisse, vehemently repudiated some of the information in the dossier and took a stand in defense of the government he represents. And to this day, the government has not provided adequate information, which simply makes them a suspect. The question is why the government was hesitant or reluctant to publish the sales of the assets, and now is not willing to bear any responsibility and be ready to account for its action. Is it because some of the government representatives were among the suspects? Perhaps, I guess, yes. The Janet Commission of Inquiry was overseen by the then Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Ba Tambedu. So to say the government was not part of or aware of how the commission was conducted is simply not true. And no matter what your perspective of Mr. Mustafa Kedabo might be, the truth to the matter is that he has shaken the core of President Barrow's administration and brought into light what has been hidden for quite some time. Had it not been for Mr. Mustafa Kedabo and his team, the government would have never shared the information on the sales of the so-called Yaya Jammeh's assets. My contention and the use of the term so-called is that those items never belonged to the former President Yaya Jammeh. Some of the lands were expropriated. Properties, cars, and aeroplanes were bought from the wealth of the nation. So Yaya Jammeh does not owe a dime. Period. No man is a hero to his valet. Our presidents and ministers are not heroes. We elected or selected them and paid them substantial amount of money, along with the best security services, to do their jobs in line with the rule of law. So we cannot see them as our heroes. Their moral and legal obligation is to serve the interests of the nation. Now, let me digress or deviate from that part of the segment and dissect the sociopathic mind of Mr. Momodou Sabally. Mr. Momodou Sabally, the man, the mouth, the language, and the behavior patterns that are antithesis to righteousness. There is an adage, he who lives in a glass house should not first throw a stone. And I'm going to say this in Wolof. Ñu ne ku dëkka si néegi weer doo njëkka sànni xeer. Ñu ne nit ko xam ne nag danga weak, amuloo kàttan in a sense, warloo njëkka tooñ. And then if you look at someone like Momodou Sabally, dafa doon nit koo xam ne dafa yaramam bépp dafa taxa boo xam ne moom moo ko teg boppam taxa lu tilim comme let's say tey ku soloon yére bu tilim ba di xeeñ foguma ne war naa mun a am sañ-sañ pour su waree romba dof di ko ree. Momodou Sabally noonu la mel. The man is a hyena, a scavenger, and a hypocrite. In Surah Luqman, chapter 19, Allah said, "Be modest in your bearing and subdue your voice. For certain, the most repulsive voice is the braying of the donkey." And I quoted this part of the chapter to address Mr. Sabally, who is always loud, ignorant, and arrogant. He is an empty barrel and only makes loud noises. I mean, when the Janet Commission took place, Mr. Momodou Sabally was jobless, then a lonely man, running around like a headless chicken, endeavoring to scratch where it does not itch, and laughing when he is not tickled. The man cannot find a job. He has no skills and can only beg for a post in government, thanks to President Adam Barrow. Now, let's listen to Mr. Momodou Sabally talking to Mr. Peter Gomez about the current situation in the Gambia. Roll the tape.
And we have some individuals with political ambition trying to use that for their personal benefit. Peter, that is
You
wrong.
think this has been politicized?
I don't think I know, and there is evidence. Peter, I was on How on QTV on Thursday. At the height of the matter, I said, I believe the list should be out, yes. Do I agree with the protesters going out with a permit? Peter, I think it's wrong to protest by law, to protest in this country without a permit, and I stand by that to date.
But that is said to be constitutional, unless you don't use a loud hailer or, huge speakers.
It is not for you and I to decide that. It's the courts. And what is in the locus classicus here is that those who've done it have been found guilty, and those judgments have been upheld up to the level of the ECOWAS court. My position is it's illegal. And what I say, and this is, I'm going to use this opportunity to talk to the young people. You applied for a permit, it was not granted. Reapply, go and negotiate. We've done that before, even when I was in UDP. Some people have said that the government has persistently refused requests for permit for protest against corruption. I said it's a lie because I...
Well, that was Mr. Momodou Sabally speaking. I mean, that is a big lie. Politics is part of our daily lives, and it does not have a time limit. Politicians and others who are interested in politics should have no time limit to be politically active. Our daily lives are dictated by policies made by politicians. So how can you extricate something inextricably linked? And for Sabally to accuse and charge people of goodwill of breaking the law is stupid and nonsensical. My dear Lord, this is the problem. Evidently by the standard of any reasonable person, Momodou Sabally is so devoid of understanding of the Constitution. The right to protest is a constitutional right. So if Momodou Sabally is telling us that people who are protesting do not have the right to gather together and stand in solidarity, then that begs the meaningfulness of the Constitution. Solidarity is a verb. It's a doing work or an action work. And I stand in solidarity with the youths, the Mamadi Kurang, and the Mustafa Kedabo. These people are heroes. We should consider them as heroes and not as enemy of peace. These are citizens that are just exercising their constitutional rights, and we should celebrate them. Now, let's look into the interpretation of the Constitution. Shall we? I slightly borrowed the terms from the former Justice of the UK Supreme Court, Lord Sumpton. A constitution is constituted by a body of rules. Its purpose is to accommodate people of different ideas and bring them together for a collective objective. Objective as a noun, meaning goal, and objective as an adjective, meaning unbiased. In the Gambia, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and the precepts, tenets or principle of the Constitution shall only be amended by legislation passed by members of the National Assembly and not by the President or the High Court judges. Any power of the government are to be exercised in accordance with the Constitution. Under Chapter 2, Section 4 to Section 7, the Constitution gives considerable amount of detail about its functioning. Section 4, Supremacy of the Constitution. This Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Any other law found to be inconsistent with any provisions of the Constitution shall be void. As powerful as the President may be, he cannot redefine the principle of the law, nor can the Supreme Court have a political agenda or abrogate the principle of the Constitution. And if the Supreme Court has to define the legality of the tenets of the Constitution, then our Constitution is not fit for purpose. The Supreme Court has no legal right to intervene in the interpretation of the Constitution or to decide major or minor issues, i.e. issuing a permit and orders. And the government representatives who refuse to give a permit to the protesters and use force rather than reasoning are part and parcel of the problem. And the fact that the permit was repudiated is something unconstitutional and a violation of the law. What the people are asking for is very simple. Grant us a permit and allow us to exercise our constitutional right. And the Inspector General of Police or whoever is in charge of issuing the permit should know that denying the people their legal right could result in people taking the law into their own hands. Freedom of assembly and demonstration peaceably and without arms. These are constitutional rights and legal. For instance, I'm a pacifist. I don't condone violence in any form or shape, but there is no conflict without a foundation. And between the conflict to the foundation, there is a distance I call the point. And the point here is the government was caught off guard, and instead of taking a simplistic view, they use force. If there is anything worthy of one's attention, it is the voice of the protesters and not the police. The police must know that they are not representative of the government and must serve the interests of the nation. Mr. Momodou Sabally is a half-wit who has no clue whatsoever. He's just talking rubbish. He misrepresented and misinterpreted the Constitution out of a desire to salvage his disgusting reputation. He knows his reputation is not good. He tarnished his reputation already. And now he thinks that he can come in front of us and just talk rubbish. I said, free the youths. Now, let's listen to Mr. Momodou Sabally talking about Mr. Esamba file. Roll the tape.
In fact, any other thing that Bob said is not true. We should not use this situation and the young people to create fitna in the society. Gambia and Gambians don't deserve that. It's a messy situation. Emotions are raw. Let us calm down, face each other, speak the truth, and follow due process.
Looks like we'll have to bring Mamadi Kurang to the program before the end of the week, given the several references. But if Bob Keita was trying to, make capital out of this, is that not what every politician tries to do, exploit a situation, however sad it might be?
The biggest politicians in this country, among them Halifa Sallah, did he make capital out of this? Among them Mama Kande?
They don't all have to make capital.
No, what is happening, we have politicians and we have wannabe politicians. It is the wannabe politicians
like Bob Keita,
like Esafal, like Mamadi Kurang, who jumped onto this.
Esafal is a wannabe politician?
Absolutely, he is. With less than 20,000 votes, you're not even in the C League, talk less of the Premier League. They all went to this to capitalize in the situation of innocent young people to build personal political and I'm glad that the situation has.
That was Mr. Momodou Sabally talking to Pierre Gomez. What has the arising conscience of dedicated individuals got to do with others who do not want to engage or participate in joining the voice of dissent? This fellow is confused and to a degree devoid of knowledge, mettle, as in mettle, and lack immense political sagacity or wisdom. I mean, Sabally deemed Mr. Esam by file and others as wannabe politicians. What the heck is wrong with this guy? I mean, let me say this with no crude sense. Mr. Momodou Sabally is petulant, obnoxious, discourteous, and in understanding of politics, he is new. He is very premature. There is more wisdom in Mr. Esam by file's fingernail than there is in the rest of Momodou Sabally's body put together. At least with Mr. Esam by file, one cannot accuse him of any misconduct, whereas Mr. Momodou Sabally was cuddling up with a dictator. He was brought before the Janneh Commission of Inquiry as a person of interest, meaning he was responsible for directly or indirectly engaging in corruption, helping a sitting president to embezzle state funds. Mr. Momodou Sabally was a criminal then, and he's a criminal now, and should be tried in court. He should just be quiet. And mark my words, there will come a time in the Gambia when we have a government with the interest of rewriting the wrong of the past and bring every Tom, Dick, and Harry who leech off the wealth of the nation to justice. And I cannot wait for that day, and Momodou Sabally will be among those people. Sabally even went on to defend the former President Yahya Jammeh by calling his regime a dictator. The Gambia is in a social stagnation, consequently to irresponsible and dishonest men like Momodou Sabally. Now let's just listen to Mr. Momodou Sabally attacking some members of the opposition parties. Roll the tape.
Constantly, consistently trying to push this man to the wall to become a dictator. But like I said on QTV,
people are pushing him. Who?
Absolutely.
The forces around him?
No, the forces outside mainly. A chairman of a municipality deciding to break the law, deciding to insult the president on TV, a mayor of an opposition party insinuating a coup d'etat in the country. This was all done here.
Insinuating
absolutely. Talib Bensouda at a UDP youth press conference in Manjai Bureau insinuated coup d'etat. I have the video.
How? What did
he said? I don't know what was the issue going on. He said, "Limo d'etat, coup d'etat, amsi dekai." What is he trying to push? Yankuba Dabo stood at Brikama and insulted the president. Let us not push President Barrow to the wall. Let us not turn him into a monster. Regardless of whether they take...
Oh, of course. That was Mr. Momodou Sabally once again. Accused some members of the opposition parties, mainly the UDP, the United Democratic Party, of pushing President Adama Barrow to become a dictator. Is Sabally that stupid to make such an observation about people who have different opinions from his own? I mean, it's quite shocking to hear Mr. Momodou Sabally being so indignant towards the UDP, while he was at one point a UDP strong exponent. But I was so glad that Mr. Peter Gomez pushed him back to the corner. Sabally pointed to individuals, Mayor Talib Bensouda and Mr. Yankuba Dabo, and yet he could not point out exactly what those people stated. It shows you how ignorant Mr. Momodou Sabally is. Now, let's look into Mr. Momodou Sabally's social media post on X, formerly known as Twitter. In March 2023, before he became an NPP supporter, he as in Momodou Sabally. Momodou Sabally's tweets are some of the most hostile and rubbish about the NPP-led government. He tweeted every word on his own volition, so he has no excuse for his behavior. On 16 March, Momodou Sabally called the NPP flip-flop. On 28 March, Sabally accused President Barrow of negligence. On 16 April, Sabally stated, opportunity to reboot our government and reset our national pulse and send a signal to the Barrow NPP government that we are fed up with unemployment and retrogression. Vote for the UDP and other parties' opposition candidates. Do not vote for the bus driver and his minions. He called President Adama Barrow the bus driver. In July 2023, Sabally accused the Barrow-led government of vote buying and called it a nefarious act that undermines the very roots of our republic. In June 2023, Sabally accused my party that he talks in both sides of his mouth, and today he's calling up with my party. With my party, to be honest, I don't have much to say to him. I think he is very intelligent and I think he understands politics very well. To my surprise, why he even happy to not to be part of President Barrow's administration, but to work with someone like Mr. Momodou Sabally, because Mr. Momodou Sabally is anyway. In July the same year, Sabally calls for the Gambians to wake up. And in August the same year, Momodou Sabally called the presidential advisor a buffoon. I can go on about Mr. Momodou Sabally for days, but he is not worthy of one's attention. He simply isn't. I just pointed this out for some of you to know this man is a habitual liar. He's an asp, and one should always be very careful with the venom of an asp. If Mr. Momodou Sabally is not a hypocrite, what else can be more accurate to describe him? Please help me. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all my subscribers and those who have not yet subscribed. Please like, comment, and subscribe below. And do comment and let me know, or let us know, what do you want us to discuss. I know there is so much to discuss about the Gambia, but please let us know what to talk about. And I thank you all once again. Take care.